I'm Karla. Welcome to Karla K Art, and today I'm going to be making a large fringed scarf, and I'm going to be using as a resist, I'm going to use soy wax. Oftentimes you see me actually using a resist, a permanent or a water-soluble resist that you apply with a resist applicator, but this time I'm going to use soy wax. Soy wax is a lot like beeswax. And wherever you place the wax, it will retain the color that it's placed on top of. So if you place it on top of white silk, it will retain the white color, and if you place the wax on top of areas that are dyed blue, it will retain the blue color. And it's my understanding that the soy wax will all come out in the steaming process, which I use to set my silk. So I'm excited about this, and hope you enjoy the video.
So this is my mechanism for melting the soy wax. I use electric fryer, and I use it at a very low setting, just enough to melt the soy wax. And these are the tools I use to apply the wax. These are actually batik tools, and the tool is spelled T-J-A-N-T-I-N-G, and I believe that's pronounced Tianting tool. Not 100% sure about that, but that's how I have been told to pronounce it. You simply dip the tool in the wax, and the open bowl part collects wax, and the melted wax comes out the spout. You can of course use brushes and that type of work too, but these tools work really well to allow you to draw lines and to do lettering and to have a long extended line of equal width. You do have to work kind of fast. You want to make sure that the wax is sinking through the silk. It's hot enough to sink through, so you can see that dark color that happens. That means that the wax is hot enough to melt through the silk, but you don't want it so hot that the wax starts to burn. Here I am applying some dye over areas that I've waxed, and when I initially put the lightest color on, you could barely see it, so I've kind of jumped the video ahead to where you can see me putting on some darker colors over the wax, where I have the wax is been done over white silk to hold the white lines, and where the wax has been done over light blue, and so this darker blue also shows that up really well in this video. I started off as a batik artist. I really love the lines that you get with batik and the textures that you can get with batik, so I was really excited to try this soy wax out because I had stopped batiking because I have a difficult time getting the wax out, and I didn't want to use dry cleaning chemicals. That's something I'm trying to stay away from. But the soy wax, I will show you in the end, actually totally came off on the paper in the steaming process. So that was really cool. I didn't have to do any work at all. It just came off. Here I am continuing to apply the blue, and I'm applying it pretty liberally, and I'm going pretty fast because it's a very hot day, and the silk was drying pretty quickly in my studio. And so I wanted to get it on there so that it wouldn't have any lines in it. And this piece that I did is it was just all blue, and it was just a very abstract piece, kind of abstract flowers with some abstract lines around it. I wasn't exactly sure how the piece was going to come out, so to be honest, I didn't want to invest a lot of time in it in case it didn't come out so well. And I just wanted an overall design that would be really abstract and pretty if it did work out well. And in fact, this scarf came out absolutely beautiful the way you'll see it in the end. So like I said, I just did some abstract flowers. When you're working with the wax techniques, you have to kind of work with the negative space versus the positive space, because the wax has a way of making its own line, and you also have to start off with the lightest color. So while here I've just done abstract flowers, if you're doing like someone's face, if they have a light colored face, you have to color in all of the face areas first and leave blank areas where the eyes would be or where the hair would be if the hair is going to be darker than white. And this is a process where you start off with the lightest color and you go to the darkest color. And as you can see, I'm just continuing to kind of whip along with this. I did use some paintbrush for some of these wax lines. The flowers that are around the center of this piece, I actually used a paintbrush to apply the soy wax. It was really fun to use. I do enjoy the smell of melted beeswax, and I missed that part of it because the soy wax doesn't have that smell. But the soy wax was not that much more expensive than the beeswax, and I didn't have any problems with it burning or anything like that. It melted really quickly, a lot quicker than the paraffin beeswax mixture I would use when I was batiking. So I did have to watch that. I made sure I stayed right in front of the skillet to see how that was going to melt. Just kind of proceeded here with getting the blue over the rest of the waxed areas. And this part is almost done, and we'll move on to the next step. So in doing this piece, I worked in several steps where I would do a wax layer, I would wait for it to dry, then I would do a dye layer, and then I would wait for it to dry, and then I would do a wax layer to seal in that color, and then I would wait for that to dry, and then I would do another blue painting episode, and then I would wait for that to dry. So this piece actually has, I think, 4 different shades of blue in it, because I did this process 4 times. And you can see where I wrote my signature in the lower left there, Karla K, with that Tianting tool, which is made from wood and copper. And I got the scarf and the soy wax and the tools actually from Dharma Trading Company out of California. I've been doing business with them since 1986, since back when I was in college, and they provide great materials, and that's where I continue to get most of my supplies. So here I go through, and I'm just moving kind of along abstractly to create these abstract flowers, and just trying to make sure I get all different shades of blue represented by the wax, covering it up with the wax so that it all shows up in the end. And again, I wasn't entirely sure that this piece was going to come out, so I worked very quickly. I just wanted an overall pattern that would be pleasing to the eye, but I wasn't paying a ton of attention to the design elements of this because I wasn't sure what was going to happen in the end with getting the soy wax out. And I dripped some soy wax and some dye there on the edge of my frame, and I wanted to make sure I got that off so it didn't come off on another piece. So I'm going to go ahead and skip ahead to the next step in this process. So here I am applying more wax, and I am using the same paintbrush, same type of paintbrush that I used for the dye, but it's not the same paintbrush. Once you put soy wax on the paintbrush, it's a soy wax only brush. You don't get that out again to be able to use it to paint with dyes with. So here I am just going over one last time to, again, secure in the colors that I've already laid down on the piece. And remember that the dye is a lot darker when it's wet. It'll be 2 or 3 shades lighter when it dries on the silk. So here I am applying the last bit of color. This is the last layer of color that I put on this scarf. And you can see I've gotten progressively darker with the blues. And you can see how lightly they dry. When silk is wet with the dye, it's 2 or 3 shades darker than it will be when it's all done, as you'll see when I show you the final pictures of the piece for the photos that I posted on my Etsy store where this piece is for sale. But here, this dark color really shows where you can see the waxed areas really clearly. And I tried not to get the wax areas too thick because I was hoping, and in fact it did come off on the paper in the steaming process, but I didn't want to have a huge buildup of wax in that paper. Again, this is the first time I've tried to do this wax process this way on one of these scarves, so I was kind of trying to be cautionary because I didn't want to have a big lump of wax in the bottom of my steaming pot, so my steaming vessel. So here I am just finishing in these abstract flowers and these abstract shapes. And again, I was working really fast because I really didn't know if this was going to come out, and I didn't want to waste a lot of time on it if it didn't come out well. But as it turns out, it came out great. I'm really, really pleased with the final product. And I had a hard time putting it in my Etsy store because I kind of want to keep it for myself. I'm going to skip ahead to that part so you can see what the final piece looks like. So here's the final piece all done, and I've just I finished painting it, and the paint is just about dry. I have to wait for 24 hours for the dye to cure, and then I can steam it, and then we have the finished piece. So this is the finished piece hanging on the mannequin. This particular square scarf is 45 inches square and it has an additional 8 inches of fringe, of which 2 inches are braided and the remaining 6 just hang down. It just turned out beautiful. I'm really impressed with this method and with how this scarf turned out.
Hey everyone, thanks for watching this video about me using soy wax in place of the other resists I often use in my videos. The wax process is, generally speaking, a batik process, but especially with the addition of waxes such like soy wax, which can come out in the steaming process, it's also used in the hand-painted silk arena as well. Hope you enjoyed this video, and if you like the video, press the thumbs up button, and if you want to get notifications about when I put out new videos, please hit the subscribe button, and if you hit the down arrow, you'll get some information about me and my company, including a link to my website. And if you go to my website, on the right hand side are links to all of my sales sites if you're interested in purchasing an original or even a print of one of my pieces. See you next time in the art studio. Bye for now.